Hello, and welcome to Amazon Simple Email Service Deliverability Learning Series. My name is Alaa Hamed, and I'm a Senior Cloud Support Engineer for Amazon SES. I help customers to fix issues related to email delivery, which are focusing on inbox deliverability. Amazon SES is a cloud email service provider that can integrate into any application for bulk email sending. Senders from small startups to large enterprise accounts can use SES to reach their customers, but getting those messages to recipient inbox can be tricky. Understanding deliverability best practices and what mailbox providers expect from bulk senders is the key to getting messages to the customer's inbox. Today, we are going to be talking about complaints, also known as spam complaints. Throughout this video, we will refer to spam complaints as complaints for simplicity. We will discuss what complaints are, how to keep them from your active mailing list, and what to do if your complaint rates increase. What are complaints? A complaint is a result of a message that you sent to an email recipient who either didn't want the message or didn't like the message and then marked it as a spam. Some mailbox providers like Yahoo and Hotmail have a feedback loop that you can sign up for, which will send complaints data back to the sender. With this data, a pattern can be identified that will lead you to a source of the complaints. Typically, complaints are triggered due to the content or the frequency of the messages received. Another common reason for generating complaints is sending to recipients who didn't explicitly opt into your email program. Not all mailbox providers have a feedback loop. Gmail, for example, doesn't have a standard feedback loop. Gmail doesn't have a dashboard that can indicate trends with complaint data. SES encourages our customers to set up Google Postmaster Tools access for their domains. This will provide complaints trends in a dashboard. In addition to other deliverability and repetition level metrics, many mailbox providers have tools that can help you monitor your sending repetition, and they typically include insights into complaints. A good rule for avoiding complaints is to send exactly what was requested or agreed upon when they signed up for your mailing list and nothing more. Also sign up for all available feedback loops, especially those available for the large mailbox providers. Understanding your recipient's threshold for volume of messages over a period of time is also an important factor when considering complaint feedback reasons. High complaints are one of the top reasons for email deliverability events that lead to lower sender repetition and lower inbox placement. It can also result in messages being delayed or plugged. If high complaint rates are sustained or spike at any time during your sending, there is an acceptable spam complaint rate, and it ranges depending on your market. But generally speaking, if you are within 0.1%, you are within an ideal range for complaints. There are a couple of things that balance out complaints to a certain degree, but it's a risk anytime you have a higher complaint rate or the complaint rate spikes during your sending. Opens and clicks, which are positive engagement signals, will help balance out complaint rates that are slightly higher than the ideal. By having high user engagement, this signals to mailbox provider servers that recipients have established relationship with the mail and want to receive it. This offsets a higher than normal complaint rate at times. In any situation, you should still try to identify the complaints and reasoning for the complaints in order to reduce them on a long term. There are also some very common situations where recipients forget they signed up for something or they don't recognize the message or the sender. In those situations, it's not the sender's fault necessarily, but these things do happen, and that's part of the reason why there is an acceptable complaint rate. It also represents an opportunity for the sender to review how the recipients were added to the list and adjust or improve the process that adds that recipient to the active mailing list. In this part, I will touch base on some recommendations to follow to reduce complaints from your active mailing list. Usually, complaints are the result of someone receiving a message they were not expecting, didn't sign up for, had already opted out of, or was different from what they signed up to receive. That's why it's a great idea to make it very clear to the future recipients when they opt into your mailing list to provide them insights on what they should be expecting to receive in the future. These should include who will be sending the messages, what's in them, how frequent they are sent, and how they can opt out of the future messages. Listen to your audience and their feedback to create the best customer experience for each recipient from the point of sign-up through to you actively sending to them as part of your email program. Never purchase or acquire a list of recipients, no matter how large or small, and always make sure to run a confirmed loop opt-in for your mailing list. This means sending an email with a verification link to the recipient address and requiring that address to click on a confirmation link. This gives the recipient an opportunity to review what they are opting into and shows the sender that they are a real user who is explicitly opting into your email program. Now, let's discuss what you should do if you start seeing complaints and how to reduce them. If you start to see a higher level of complaints after you have been sending in production without issues for several months, you will need to look at any new changes to your mailing list. Consider if there were any additions to the mailing list and how they were added. If they were added by means of closed loops opt-in as discussed earlier, you should be okay. But if the new recipients added were acquired in any way and not confirmed with a closed loop opt-in, this is likely your issue. If you start to send in different patterns and cadences, that can also generate complaints as recipients had set expectations of what and when they were to receive your messages. Oftentimes, changing those patterns without notice can cause a spike in complaints. As a recommendation, when you need to change cadences or something that's a standard part of your messaging, it's best to notify your customers early that new changes are coming and give them a way to opt out if they wish to do so. Another alternative to having a recipient completely opt out of your mail program would be to offer a preference center where they can pick and choose which areas of interest they would like to continue to receive and which they would prefer to opt out of receiving. Changes in content can also lead to a higher complaint rates. Always check links and formatting your emails to make sure it's compliant with industry standards, and none of the links are listed on a real-time block list. It's always a good idea to have a clear branding in emails that identify you to the recipient, along with common compliance policies, such as a real physical address and an unsubscribe link in your messages. There are different compliance rules for different types of messages. For example, the physical address and unsubscribe link are generally required on marketing messages but not for transactional messages. That being said, anytime you can brand your messages and create that additional layer of trust with your recipients, it's a good idea and help build the trust from sender to receiver. Test the content changes before you start sending to your full recipient mailing list. This could include AP split tests or even seed testing to see how mail servers evaluate the message. Honoring unsubscribes and removing recipients who flagged messages as complaint by removing them from the active mailing list, it's an important part of your long-term list maintenance. Additionally, following your trends of complaints from the holistic account sending overview all the way down to the individual campaigns is a way to keep from getting into a high-volume spam complaint issue. If you start to notice arising complaints for a particular campaign series, you should review those campaigns and see what changes were made, listen to your audience, and take the feedback they provide you when available. In conclusion, spam complaints are a communication mechanism in the email world that tells the sender the recipient didn't want or like the message you sent to them. You should honor that preference. By removing the recipient from your active mailing list, use the feedback you are receiving to help create a better experience for your recipients and customers. This will help promote a long-term sender-to-receiver relationship, which should be the goal of any long-term email program. This is the end of Amazon SES Email Deliverability Learning Series focused on complaints. Please look for our next Deliverability Learning Series video. I hope this video has helped you better understand what complaints are and how to handle and reduce them long-term. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. Thank you for your time.